Welcome to another video on the channel. Today we will be going over all of the games that happened on day 3 of the 2026 World Cup. The first game that happened today was Qatar versus Switzerland, and everyone, myself included, thought that Switzerland were easily going to win this game. From the start, Switzerland were attacking Qatar, they were putting shots on goal, but the Qatari goalkeeper Abu Nada had a fantastic performance today. He made multiple saves to keep his team in the game. However, he did concede a penalty, which I don't think it was really his fault. He tried to go for the ball. He was just a little bit late. It's not really his fault. I actually think the penalty that was given, the player who got fouled was slightly offside, but the referee didn't see it. VAR didn't see it. So the penalty was given, and Brio and Bolo scored it for Switzerland, as he always does in the World Cup. He always shows up for Switzerland in international tournaments. And from then on, Switzerland kept attacking and attacking. But like I mentioned, the Qatari goalkeeper, he was just saving everything today. If it wasn't for Abu Nada, Qatar would have definitely lost this game by like 4 goals at least. And the trend continued early in the second half. Switzerland kept going for that goal. Abu Nada had to make another good save on Vargas. And Qatar, they just couldn't create anything. Even with their substitutes coming in, they still couldn't form a truly good attack. But as the game went on, Switzerland, they got overconfident. They were happy with the 1-0 result. They didn't try to go for a second goal near the end. And that was a grave error that costed them the 3 points. Because right at the death, Qatar scored an equalizer thanks to a brilliant header from Kolki. And in a game that Switzerland thought that they had already won, Qatar snatched 2 points from them and managed to tie the game 1-1. And that is exactly how the result ended. This is Qatar's first ever World Cup point. Obviously, 4 years ago, when they hosted the World Cup, they were not able to get even a draw. But this is the first time ever that they have played a World Cup game and not lost. So it's a huge result for Qatar, and it opens up Group B of the World Cup because now every team after match day 1 has 1 point. And even Qatar, a team that I thought were just going to the World Cup just to make up the numbers and that they would lose every game, now all of a sudden they're in the battle to potentially get out of this group. And this is why we love the World Cup, because it brings us all of these shocks that no one expected. And that is exactly what happened today in this game between Qatar and Switzerland. The next game was the big clash between Brazil and Morocco. This was the game that everyone was waiting for. This was the game that promised to be one of the best games of the World Cup group stage. And I think it delivered. It was a very good game. You could tell that both of these teams are quality teams, two of the top 10 teams in the world for sure. And at the start, Morocco, they started off as the better team. They kept attacking Brazil. Brazil was struggling to create. And at the 21st minute, a through ball from Brahim Diaz found Saibari, and he just chipped the ball over Alisson. It was a fantastic goal and a well-deserved goal for Morocco. However, just 11 minutes after that goal, Vinicius Jr., he cut inside and he scored an absolute banger to tie the game 1-1. And I think that goal changed the course of the game because for the rest of that first half, Brazil, they started to get more into the game and they improved a lot. The first half of the first half, Morocco were the dominant team, but Brazil ended the first half much better. And you could just tell it was an intense game. The atmosphere in this game was incredible. There were so many Brazilians, so many Moroccans. Like you could just feel the intensity. In the second half, both teams they had their opportunities. They both went for the win, but in the end, no one could get the victory. Morocco, I think, did have the best chance of the second half though, with their last-minute chance during stoppage time when a long shot had to be saved from Alisson, and then Alisson saved the rebound again. It was a fantastic double save from him. And overall, it was a disappointing World Cup debut from Brazil. Players like Igor Thiago, Rafinha, Casemiro, Ibanez, Paquetá, they didn't perform to the expectations. I'm shocked that players like Endrick and Ryan didn't enter in this game. I think that they could have created something for Brazil. This was also the game where the world learned about the Moroccan footballer, Bouadi. The young 18-year-old midfielder had a fantastic performance. He played like a veteran, and he's only 18. This was his first World Cup game. What a pickup from Morocco, because he could have represented France, but he decided to play for Morocco, and that is a crucial decision for the future of Moroccan football. In the end, I do think the draw was the deserved result, because even though Brazil didn't perform to expectations, they kind of weathered the storm a little bit, because the first 25 minutes for Morocco, they were insane. But Brazil, they weathered that storm and they controlled the rest of the game a little bit. Even though Morocco, they still had their opportunities and it was still a very even game. So I would say that the draw was the deserved result for both teams. Next, we have Haiti versus Scotland, and Scotland got their first World Cup win since 1998. However, despite that, the better team today were definitely Haiti. They had more opportunities. From the start, Haiti looked like the better team, but Scotland, they just had that quality. And eventually it showed when John McGinn volleyed the ball in. It took a deflection. In fact, I even thought it was an own goal at first, but so far, FIFA, they still credit the goal to John McGinn, so it's still his goal. And he was the hero today for Scotland, because if it wasn't for that, they probably would have tied or maybe even lost this game, because Haiti were definitely the better team. They had more opportunities, they were attacking more. Their wingers, they looked saucy, they had a lot of tricks under their sleeves. And I think Haiti could actually feel a bit robbed, because there was a handball action that was not even checked by VAR. The referee didn't see it. And if that action was noticed, it could have possibly been called as a penalty. Also, Peiro, the striker, he almost scored a header. It just went past the post. And despite the dominance from Haiti, Scotland held on. They had a low block, and it was a successful low block. They ended up holding on to the result to get the 3 points. The atmosphere at Gillette Stadium was fantastic. Both the Haitians and the Scotland fans were incredible today. They added so much passion to the game, and this was probably the game that had the best atmosphere at the World Cup so far. So credit to both teams there. Their fans were both incredible today. And lastly, we have Australia versus Turkey, and this was a shock. Everyone has Turkey as their dark horse in this World Cup, but they have lost their first game of this World Cup against Australia 2-0. From the start, Turkey looked like the better team, and they kept trying to look for opportunities. Arda Güler had a volley saved, but despite the dominance from Turkey, Australia went on a counterattack, and Iran Kunda scored a brilliant solo goal to give Australia the 1-0 lead in Vancouver. And that goal forced Turkey to be a bit more desperate. They were trying to look for that equalizing goal, but Australia had a fantastic low block today. All of the defenders were brilliant, especially Harry Sutar. And despite all the dominance from Turkey, they just couldn't get past that defense. And the few times that they did, the Australian goalkeeper Beach, who's only 22 years old and still plays in the Australian League, he had a brilliant game. This is the type of game that gets a player a move to Europe. His saves were incredible today. There's a reason why here on FUTMUB he got an 8.8 star rating. And Turkey kept trying to score. They had a free kick that was saved. The Australian goalkeeper was called into action multiple times. But despite all that, it was actually Australia who got the next goal of the game with an absolute banger from McAlfee, who found some space and then he shot from outside the box and it went into the back of the net to give Australia the 3 points. And not only did they get the win, but they got the clean sheet as well. Australia held on until the end. They didn't let Turkey score a single goal in this game. And that was a disappointing performance from Turkey. They were definitely expecting a lot more than that. But it just goes to show that Australia in the World Cup, they are always a tough team to play against. They never look like an insane team on paper, but for some reason, when they play together, they just play with grit and chemistry, and they just always show up. And that is exactly what happened today. That's a crucial 3 points for Australia. They're now second in the group, tied on points with the United States. And now this group is wide open. Like anything could happen now in this group with Australia, Turkey, the United States, and Paraguay. It's going to be very interesting to see how it ends. So that was the entire recap of day 3 of the FIFA World Cup 2026. Make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel to not miss any future content. I have nothing more to say. Have a good night, everyone.